even talk about conflict. My name is Coach Laura Brown. I'm an author, speaker, and a workshop facilitator. I own the SWAT book camp, and that's where I do once a year. I do a 6-month camp to help people write their books. I take you from start to finish. So, and I'm mostly do nonfiction, self-help, memoir. You're sharing your expertise. I also own 4P Publishing. That those who go through my publishing camp, they have an automatic publisher. And so I started 4P Publishing by accident, actually, but hey, I own it now. When I started the book camp, I also own 4P Solutions, and it's a coaching program where I help people discover, develop, and deliver their purpose and potential into the world. So if you need any kind of one-on-one coaching, small group coaching, you have an ideal, just can't seem to get it off the ground, you need some organization, some planning, you just need a gentle pat on the back or a hefty 8.5 foot in your butt, I can do both. I can pat you on your back, or I can put my foot in your butt. I can multitask and do both. That's what 4P Solutions is about. You can reach me at Coach Laura Brown at swapbookcamp.com. My websites are up there. I have some information on the table over there. I have my resume one-sheet page if you want to know more about me, the topics that I speak on. I do have some business cards if anyone needs a pen. I have pens over there also, so take a moment to go over there and check those out. Some helpful tips to get us through to today. For those of you who don't know me, I always make a point to tell everyone that one of the most important things you should know about me is I am 100% deaf. And I have no sign language skills. Now I'm going to give you time to process that. Some of you are like, she said she was deaf. And some say, well, you don't look deaf. I don't know what that's supposed to look like. I feel like a failure. I'm sorry, I don't know the fashion statement for being deaf. I missed it. But through the miracle of science and technology, I have 2 cochlear implants that allow me to hear digitally. And so voices are not always the same. But what that does mean is that while I have regained some of my hearing, it's not 100%. Before my implants, I was maybe at 10%, which means, I could hear 1 out of every 10 words you speak. But I live by lip reading. So I still do that. So when you're talking and I'm looking at you like this, I'm not flirting with you. I'm not trying to get your number. I'm just trying to understand what you're saying until I get out of the habit of reading lips. These are pretty new to me. What that means is that I'm still not at 100%. And so I'm going to ask that when you guys are giving me your feedback or you're asking questions or answering questions, that one thing I want you to do is I want you to speak up. Speak like you own the room. Because one thing I found is that a lot of times in group situations, when people are speaking, you only speak loud enough for the person next to you to hear. And I used to get so frustrated, like, I can't hear them. And my husband, my wonderful husband, like, baby, nobody can hear them. Because you don't have enough confidence just to speak it. So for my benefit, so I can hear what everyone is saying, I'm gonna ask, if you have a question or you wanna make a comment, speak like you own the room. Speak like you're giving the workshop. I'm not gonna be offended, like, who she thinks she is? I wanna be able to hear you. Next thing is that when you are speaking, you need to make sure they know that it's you. Because of these don't have very good direction or capability sometimes, I'm not quite sure where voices are coming from. That's why I like room setups in U-shapes, I can kind of figure out. But sometimes when people are talking, I'm trying to get to where the voice is coming from. So, if you're saying something, just kind of raise your hand and let me know it's you. And if you guys see me, someone's talking, and you see me doing like this, just, say, point to the person that's talking to me. I'm not going to be offended. If you want to play a prank on me, let one person talk and then everybody move their lips, I would be so confused. I'm not going to say what. But don't do that. But that would be, if you want to play a prank on me, that would be the prank. And I'd be like, okay, everybody's lips are moving. So that's what you should know about me. I am deaf, but I don't let it hold me back, obviously. Obviously. So are we ready to get started? Yay! Everyone have something to write with? Everyone have you should have these are just pictures of the handout. You should have a bookmark. Oh, Brad. So let's go ahead and get started. Conflict. What are some different types of conflict? Different types of conflict. We had the snowball fight, that was kind of a conflict. But businesses?
Yeah, business disagreements.
Okay. What else? Where else can you find conflict?
Relationships.
Oh yeah, relationships. What else? You said businesses? Okay, isn't that what he said? See, I'm not the only one who can't really hear what people are saying, so it's all right. That's another fear. That's people when we're in a room, we're afraid to answer after anybody else because we think, well, maybe somebody else already said this. So I'm the first one to raise my hand so I can get mine out, and I don't have that fear of repeating. Otherwise, I'm not gonna say anything. But conflict is just really two opposing views that are coming together. And we can have conflicts, we talk about wars and things like that, but a conflict of ideals, a conflict of beliefs, but there are different types of conflict. And so my question to you is, what is the danger of unresolved conflict? What happens if we don't handle conflict when it comes up? What can be some of the results?
The issue boils over and festers until it becomes something that can't be resolved, but it could be resolved in the early stage.
Okay. What else? Oh, you were just agreeing?
It can grow into bitterness.
Excuse me?
It can grow into bitterness.
It grows into bitterness. What else can happen if conflict is not resolved? Anybody else?
Resentment.
Resentment.
It can spill over into other aspects of your life.
There you go. And so there are tons of different reasons we can think of why we need to be able to handle, to resolve conflict. But now let me ask this question here. What is the danger of not knowing how to handle conflict properly?
When trying to communicate your point, it gets misinterpreted, which adds more fuel to the fire.
Has anyone ever been in a situation where when you are in a heated moment or in a moment, whether at work or in social situations, where someone has viewed your response to conflict through different lenses, whether it's a gender lens? What do I mean by that? Well, if you guys are in the workplace, he's male, you're female. If he goes off and blows his top, it's like, oh, what's your name?
Josh.
Josh is just passionate about what he's doing, and he just really believes in this project. If you do it, well, it must be that time of the month. Her hormones are taking over. It could be through the lens of age. If you have an older person who's, let's say, a baby boomer, 60 years old, and he goes off, he becomes old and crotchety, he's just a grumpy old man. Once again, I'm picking on Josh. He goes off, man, he's a fiery young guy. We need him on our team. We can view conflict through even economic status or your status at work. If your boss goes off, he's just taking over the reins. He's a good leader. If you as an employee go off, you are unsubmissive or insubordinate. And so there are different ways people can view your interaction or how you receive conflict. And so one way to level the playing field, no matter whether your race, your gender, as a black woman in the workplace, you can't just go off like someone else in the workplace because people have these preconceived notions. Women can't always just express their feelings any way they want because of preconceived notions. And so one way to level the playing field is knowing how to initiate and even receive conflict or criticism with poise and calm. So no matter who's viewing you, or no matter what your race, your gender, your economic status, your work responsibility, you level the playing field with wisdom. You level the playing field with being equipped with knowledge on how to make sure that you are presenting your ideals, you're presenting your issues, but also knowing how to receive criticism or to receive conflict when it's initiated towards you. And so that's what today is about. It's about equipping you guys to level the playing field, whether at work, whether at home, in social arenas, even on social media. You know, you have to have conflict resolution. You know, we 15, 20 years ago, we didn't have that aspect. We just had the face-to-face thing. And now you got to deal with social media, and then you actually meet the person in real life, and everybody is still mad. And so you have to understand how to level those playing fields there. Because what happens is that you don't want to avoid conflict. You do not want to avoid conflict, because what happens is it's just going to be a constant, you know, And see, what happens with the snowball fight, we were supposed to be silent. And so, you know, in the beginning, some people were like, okay, shh, shh, shh. But what happens when you avoid conflict and you don't speak about it, you don't say anything, it becomes a silent conflict. And then you begin to throw the some people begin to throw the snowball more aggressively because you didn't feel like it was making enough noise when it hit, so you're going to throw it harder, and that didn't help. But sometimes when you're silent about your conflict, it shows up in other ways. I'm not going to say anything to you, but I'm going to do some other passive-aggressive things just to let you know I don't like something you said or something you did, instead of me being mature, saying, hey, Josh, I have an issue with you. And so that's why it's not good to avoid conflict. Nobody really loves conflict. I mean, does anybody here like conflict situations? I know they're pointing at you, Angel. Everyone except Angel. No one really loves to be in conflict with another human being. Most people enjoy peace and a drama-free life. Some people do enjoy conflict. They get paid on TV for stirring up conflict. But unless you're getting paid, you know, per episode, I would say try to deal with conflict as soon as it arises. As soon as it arises. So let's talk about the top 4 causes of conflict. Of course, there are many, many things that will cause conflict, but these are the top 4 that I researched. Different values. Our different values, once again, can come from our age. Those of us born in the baby boomer era, we have a different set of values than, let's say, the millennials or Generation X. It's not that one is better than the other, they're just different values. So in the workplace, when you have baby boomers, Generation X, millennials, Generation Y, there can be a conflict of values. Sometimes in our home, how many of you have teenagers or have raised teenagers? You know, we raised 3 teenagers at one time with 3 totally different personalities. And so we had to navigate the conflict. I used to joke and tell people the only reason why I kept my teenagers alive was because they were still a good tax deduction. Once they turned 18, you know, they were, But you have to know how to navigate conflict in the workplace, in the social arena, in your relationships with your spouse or your significant other. These techniques don't just belong in just one place. You can do these things in many different places. And am I going to say it's going to work 100% of the time? Of course not. But even if it works 50% or 60%, and the more you do it, the more adept you become to getting it out there, and it will become very natural to you. Conflicting personalities. I'm an introvert. There are some people who are extroverts. There are some people who are type A's or type B's or whatever. And sometimes these conflicting personalities can be the source of conflict. I'm an introvert. When I'm working, I don't like you coming in my space. Don't interrupt me. Just let me work. And you get the extrovert, hey, Laura, how you doing? Won't you just get out and leave me alone? Well, what's wrong with you today? Nothing is wrong with me today. Just leave. And then you because we have different personalities. And so sometimes that can be a source of conflict in the workplace, in home, in the social arena, that could be a source of conflict. Misunderstandings, that's another source of conflict. You thought I meant this and you said I meant that, and that's why it's important to always clarify what people mean. Once again, with my hearing impaired issue, can you imagine the number of misunderstandings that I have to deal with? And so, you know, it's a, you know, I joke about it and we laugh about it. Sometimes people will say something and we can have a whole conversation about two different things because I thought she said something. She thought I heard what she said and I'm agreeing to what she said, but I really don't know what she said. So she thinks I'm in agreement. We end up, you know, okay, we're good with that. I don't do what she thought I heard her tell me do because I heard her tell me do something else. So now she's mad because I didn't do what she told me to do. We have a misunderstanding. Right now we have a misunderstanding, and that's a source of conflict. Communication skills, that is a source of conflict. If you can't communicate what you're upset about, if you can't communicate how you're feeling about something, it's going to be a source of conflict. When I say communication skills, I'm not talking about an extensive vocabulary. I'm just talking about being able to identify and articulate what the issue is. You do not have to use college words. You can use Dr. Seuss words if you want to, but if you are able to string those things together to make someone understand what you're talking about, then you have great communication skills. So it's not about your vocabulary or about your education. You know, sometimes a 5-year-old can communicate better than a 50-year-old because they know exactly what they want. You don't have an issue. I want to go outside. Okay? You don't have to say, well, where do you want to go? But an adult might say, the weather is awful nice, isn't it? Well, yes, it is. There's really nothing on TV right now. Well, no, there's not. And then I get upset because my husband doesn't respond because I want to go take a walk. How come I just didn't say, hey, it's nice out. Do you want to take a walk? My 7-year-old granddaughter can get her Pop to do something because she knows exactly what she wants him to do. You know, Pop, the light is out in the bedroom. Me, do we have any light bulbs? You know, and so she tells the Pop, the lights are out. I want to know if we have light bulbs. Where's the step stool? You know, all these things that Pop, change the light bulbs. And so we have to make sure that we're able to immediately articulate what it is that's going on in our lives. So we're going to talk about the poise process. This is a 5-step process, and you think 5 steps? Well, what do you got to do? 5 steps? They make sense, and it's easy. So you ready to begin? The first step is the P. The P, and it's on your bookmark too. The P stands for 3 things actually: permission, privacy, and purpose. Permission, privacy, and purpose. Permission means, you know, hey Jarrell, can I talk to you for a minute? Because you don't want to just come up in somebody's face and just start, I'm upset with you about this. Because for those of you who came in with the snowball fight and someone just threw a snowball at you and you were prepared for it, what was your initial reaction? Yeah. Some people are like, what the? And so you want to prepare people that there is something going on. So you always ask, hey, can I talk to you for a minute? So that's permission. Privacy. You want to make sure, can we go into your office? Can we go over here? You don't want to attack them or initiate this in a crowd because that could cause a person to be on the defensive. And so you want to ask for privacy. Whether, can we do a phone call? Can we go into your office? Can you come into my office? And then the third P is purpose. Because what happens when someone say, hey Jarrell, can I talk to you? What are you going to say?
About what?
About what? And so you need to be ready to articulate your purpose in a very short sentence. They don't need a thesis statement. They just say, Jarrell, I want to talk to you about some issues that I've been having at work. When's a good time for you? And so that person is prepared You respected their wishes that, yes, she can talk to me, we're gonna do it in private. And he had some kind of sense, okay, we're talking about work. Especially if you're in a leadership position, if you're the boss and you tell someone who's working for you, I need to see you in my office. What is going through that person's head for the next 2 or 3 hours? What have I done? And then they think about something that they did do. How did he know about that? And so they're freaking out and they're stressing. And so you want to kind of ease that up. You don't want them to come into your presence all tense and ready for a fight or ready to defend something. You want to let them know that this is the subject that we're talking about. And then, okay, they can get their mind prepared. So the P stands for what?
Permission, privacy, purpose.
Permission, privacy, and purpose. The next is the O. Once this person is in your presence, you're going to start with the observation. You are not going to tell them, you disrespected me in the meeting yesterday. You don't do that. Because what you've done is you put a tag on what you think happened. And so observation is where you just basically tell them, Jarrell, the meeting that we had yesterday, when I was presenting, you kept cutting me off and asking questions, and I just want to know what's going on with that. I'm just telling him what he did that has upset me. I'm not saying the reason why he did it, because I might be misunderstanding his actions. And so, you've cut me off. The next part comes with the I. That's the interpretation. That's subjective and personal. So I might say, Jarrell, I feel as you kept cutting me off during the meeting when I was giving my presentation. And I just kind of want to know, I feel disrespected when you do that.
Come on, perception language.
So instead of me coming up and saying, you disrespected me yesterday, his response would go, whoa, what you talking about? And now we have to battle that. But if I say, this is what you did, and this is how I feel about what you did, that's giving him an opportunity to understand and think, oh, well, wow, that was a misunderstanding. I didn't mean, in his mind he can think, oh, okay, did I do that? I didn't really mean to make her feel disrespected. And then comes the S. That's where you and the person who you're discussing this with will begin to talk about solutions for success. That Jarrell, yesterday in the meeting and in a lot of meetings, you tend to cut me off when I'm talking. And it makes me feel as though you don't respect me or you don't value what I do. And then Jarrell may say, oh, Laura, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. It's just that sometimes I have a lot of questions about the things that you present. And then Jarrell and I will begin to discuss, well, how can we rectify this situation that I can present what I'm presenting, and you can get the questions that you need answered, without having to interrupt me and hold up the meeting and waste everyone's time. What could we do to alleviate that? And your response might be what?
Oh, well, I could write down the questions and come to you with them afterwards.
Okay. What are some other solutions that Jarrell and I could come up with so that he can have his question answered about anything that I'm presenting without disrupting the meeting or interrupting me when I'm speaking? What about?
You can have a question and answer period after your presentation.
Okay. Or we might say, well, how about Jarrell? What if I send you the slides beforehand, and if you have questions, you can email me and we can talk about this before the meeting, and then that way you already know what's coming up, because he might be the type of person who likes to have all the information. I don't have time to go into different personality types and learning styles and things like that, but I'm an information person and I like to have a lot of the information. And so people like that, it's good for you to give us things beforehand so we can kind of say, oh, okay, I see this is coming up, and I can ask you to clarify some things without interrupting you. And so that's when you would discuss solutions for success. I told you what your actions were. I told you how I interpret your actions. You and I then begin to discuss. You begin to tell me, okay, this is why you're doing this, and then we figure out, okay, how can we alleviate this situation? And then the E is you always end on a positive note. And that's simply as, Jarrell, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. I appreciate your time. I know you were busy. Thank you. Thank you is always a good way to end, even if you didn't even come to an agreement. Thank you for your time. It's always a good way to leave on a positive note so a person won't have such a bitter taste in their mouth. And it opens the door to continue the conversation later, because you're not going to always come to a good conclusion after every initial thing. I'm not going to say, I'm going to guarantee this is going to work 100% of the time. Then you come calling me later, Laura, I got fired, this didn't work. I'm going to give my disclaimer now. But it will end on a positive note. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you. And that works so well. Thank you. So now the next part of poise and calm, this is how you, when you initiate something with someone. But what if you're on the receiving end? What if you're Jarrell? How is he supposed to respond to me? And so this is the second part of handling conflict with calm and poise. And it's the word calm. You have to remain calm. Well, how do you do that when someone's accusing you of something? The first thing is you control your defense mechanisms. A lot of times that's one of the first things is human nature to want to defend ourselves. And we want to justify why we're doing what we're doing. We get defensive because someone might be challenging our beliefs. They might be challenging our decisions, our behaviors. People might be challenging anything, and first thing we want to do is, I gotta defend this. But you have to be slow to speak, quick to listen. Listen to what a person is saying and close your mouth. Even in your mind, you have to control that defense mechanism, because even if you don't say anything, like, well, they think they're talking, and then you're not really listening to what is happening. So you have to learn how to control your defense mechanism. The next thing is A. Guess what? Accept your imperfection. Accept the fact that what they're saying about you just might be true. You just might have offended somebody. You just might have done what they are saying that you did. And you have to take the time to step back and say, do I cut her off in meetings? Take the time to self-reflect and say, do I have a nasty tone of voice when I'm talking to people? Do I cut people off? When someone is saying, you do this, stop and ask yourself, do I? Be honest in the midst of that conversation instead of trying to defend yourself. Saying, do I do that? Or how are my actions being misinterpreted that way? What am I doing that this person can misinterpret my actions? So, we are not 100% right all the time. The L stands for listen actively. You have to be able to shut everything else down in your mind and really listen to what the person is saying. Listening actively means you're not thinking about your grocery list. You're not wondering if you turned the iron off at home. You're not trying to figure out what your response is going to be. You need to be able to focus totally on what this person is saying. Sometimes it helps. My husband has this when we're in family meetings. He'll have a piece of paper and he'll tell my daughter, I'm just writing down what you're saying. I'm writing down things. So when you're finished, I can go back. And that helps him not to mull these questions over in his head. He said, do you mind if I take some notes? If you're in a meeting like that, do you mind if I take some notes? Do you mind if I write some things down? Because you're the type of person where your mind is, that's going to help you. That's going to help you focus on what that person is saying. But make sure you let them know this is not going to any HR thing. This is just this helps me to listen. when I write my thoughts about what you're saying down. You can draw for those who are, artistic, you might, draw something. But sometimes that helps you to stay focused and helps you to stay engaged on what that person is talking about. And then the last thing is make it your own. That means that once you're finished talking, you kind of repeat what that person said. Not so much word for word, but, okay, Laura, what I hear you saying is that it throws you off a little bit when people ask you questions in the midst of your presentation. And I say, that is kind of what I'm saying. And so when you listen actively, you can make it your own. You just kind of repeat what you heard the person say. It doesn't have to be verbatim or word for word, but you can paraphrase. Do we have any questions or comments before we go on to our next step?
So the part about making it your own, is that kind of a prompt to kind of start the process over again if you had misinterpreted?
There you go.
So if I say, well, what I hear you saying is, so in the instance, in this imaginary conflict we're having, if I would say, well, Laura, what I hear you saying is that you have a problem with me because you don't like when I speak up in the meetings, which is not what you're saying.
Right.
So then you can say, well, no, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is X,
Right.
Y, and Z.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So let's talk about this. Damn barriers to active listening. There are barriers that will cause us not to hear actively. The first one is distractions. Once again, internal, external distractions. This is part of the active listening process. The barriers to being able to listen is sometimes we're distracted. Once again, those internal things. Did I leave the iron on? Why does he have ketchup on his shirt? To the external, the internal and external things. You need to quiet those things down. Next is attachments. Sometimes we can get defensive and not listen because we have attachments to our personal beliefs about things. And so one way to do that when you're engaged in these conversations with someone, let your personal beliefs take a sidestep, and instead of having attachment, convert it into curiosity. That, you and I have different political beliefs, but instead of me saying, well, I know what he believes politically, so I'm not going to listen to him, Jarrell, tell me why you feel the way you feel about this particular thing. So replace attachment with curiosity, and that's going to help you listen to that person. We may have different religious beliefs, we may have different political beliefs, we may have different beliefs, and we get attached to those things. But when you release those attachments and say, let me step out because I may not be right. So let me maybe ask a few questions to clarify and be humble enough to release those. I'm not saying you have to convert to a religion that you don't believe in, but if you can say, I know where I stand, but let me try to figure out where this person stands. And maybe ask her, well, why do you believe that? Instead of saying, that's a stupid belief. I don't know why you believe in the spaghetti monster. That's stupid. Well, you might say, well, spaghetti is rich in protein, and that's why I believe in the spaghetti monster. And so when you begin to transform your attachment to curiosity, that truly helps. And the next is, once again, misinterpretations. That's why it's always good to clarify, to make it your own. Did I get what you said correctly? And when you get past these damn barriers to active listening, then you continue the communication process and begin to create solutions instead of wallowing in the conflict. So now, we are going to do some role playing scenarios. We got 1, 2. I need you guys to break up into 3 groups. We're not going to do the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let me get 3 people over here. Come on, let's go. You want to
You know what?
Yeah, I need you guys, some of you guys can be over here, some of you guys can be over
Which one are you
here.
looking for? Is that-
3 or 4 in this group, 3 or 4 in that group.
If you look on that sign, it'll tell you which place the things are in. It might be this big one, but I thought it was designed so I saw some people that use
I am saying I came in, I'm
How are you going to use your poise to initiate the conflict?
Yeah, right.
The receiver is going to figure out how to use calm when you're discussing it. And for the judges, you guys are going to tell them how they did. So let's do this. Go ahead and get started.
Other people, and that's not good for the team environment. We talk about that.
Sorry, it's gonna. What does it say?
Okay, so I'm angry because you're mentioning my house, my whole household income. And I'm just calling you sorry because you don't help out like you say you do. And what else are we supposed to be doing? We're supposed to be presenting this house.
Well,
With poise.
yeah, so first of all, I think you call me. This is a good practice. Oh, now, with those steps.
When she went over the poise.
So
There's really not one too many exceptions.
permission, privacy.
30 more seconds.
Yeah, just think about all the other people that have.
Okay, we can talk about that.
Really not good.
Step into the DMs because
10 more seconds to end on a positive note.
There's no crying allowed.
We're done. Finish up. Great, I'm tears. All right, everybody back to the tables. Did she get fired?
got skill. I need you for a couple
I'm
points.
looking for jobs outside. I'm looking at my resume then.
So guys, in your group, what was the most difficult thing or the thing that stood out? Anything?
For us, he was just overbearing, and even though she was apologetic and she was saying, you know, I'm a single mom, you know, she's been
I
married
made
a
that
couple of
up.
times. He was just like, well, that doesn't work for me, too bad. So it was really difficult for her to, it's, you know, she asked a good question, is there any flexibility? He was like, no, can't keep the lights on all night. So,
But that actually raises a really good point, right? So like in this process, if you are like, you go through this process and you realize actually there's not, you know, something or it was misinterpreted, like you also can't be walked all over. So how do you pivot that if like he's my employer
And that's why I want to level the playing field, because you can't always control if someone is going to be poised or if someone is going to be calm. Your response is you know how to be poised when initiating it, but you have to learn how to be calm when receiving, because a person might not be poised when presenting, or when you are poised when presenting, another person might not be calm and receptive, and you can't control that. It's totally up to you. You are in control of that.
I have a suggestion, I guess, of a situation like that. Because I'm really good at conflict resolution because all of my friends are really fiery. So a lot of times, you know, a lot of times they come at me with not the best amount of poise, and a lot of times I have to initiate with saying, okay, I'm willing to hear what you have to say. I really do value what your concerns are, but I'm gonna need you to communicate with me in a way that I can't receive what you're saying right now at the level that you're at. So if you can just calm then we might be able to get to a conversation, because I care, and I really want to help you get to the solution. But stop talking to me like a crazy. And that's your only question.
Yeah, I like that.
And so you can see, it's gonna take practice. But if you have this in your toolbox, even when someone is not poised, or even if someone is not calm, you have the option, you control the situation. And so when it comes to the art of conflict and dealing with conflict, we have 3 choices. You can fight, you can say, come on baby, we ready to go, I don't care, let's do it, and you might lose your job depending on who it is. You might lose some things, lose your respect, lose some trust. You may end up having to go back and apologize because you didn't know how to deal with conflict properly. You can choose the flight option, where I'm just not going to deal with it. I'm just going to keep it all inside, and then you end up, going postal one day, and so, but keeping that inside is not good for you. And so I would say that the best option is to resolve. Learn how to resolve conflict. Learn how to handle conflict with calm and poise, and understand that it's all on you. That it starts with you. And I have a book over here. I'm going to give one away. How many of you guys have business cards? Or this is a book of over 100 self-reflection questions for leaders. And basically it helps you, because we're all leaders in some fashion, but it helps you to understand what are the things inside of me that I need to work on, so that when I'm dealing with other situations, what's inside of me, and everything in your life you can control. And so this is a book of over 100 questions by a collaborative group. We came up with over 100 questions, and basically it just has the questions. You can color some of them in, and a journal page just asking you, what is it in me? I'm going to give one of these books away. How many of you guys have business cards with you? Give me your business cards. Quick. While we're doing that, I'm gonna pass out these surveys, please, leave me in. I'm always, okay, please make sure you fill out your workshop survey.
That's nice.
What did you do? So I'm gonna give this book, I'm gonna scan the business cards, I'm gonna give one book away.
I do a lot of work.
I do have some over there. On Amazon, they're $12.99, but today if you want one, they're only $10. So I have a few over there left. So cash your business cards this way.
I got more.
It's the highest compliment that he stole your.
I like it.
I got everybody's business cards. Remember Taylor?
I did, yes.
Close your eyes. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. And what do we have? We have Street Diva, Nicole Johnson. Thank you so much. Thank you. So once again, I thank all of you. Please fill out the survey form. That helps me to better myself. So when I do this again, I take every survey and I look at them and I do make changes based upon what people tell me. She's too loud, she talks too long, she's boring, she stinks, things like that. Please, be honest with me. You don't have to put your name on it or anything like that. But I thank you guys so much for joining me. I appreciate you guys. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free. Take a selfie with someone that you haven't taken a selfie with, and you guys are free to go to your next Startup Week class. If you want the slides to this, please make sure your name is on the sign-in sheet, and I will send you the slides and everything. Thank you so much.